Hi, I'm Niviesha, and if I had to describe myself as a student in one word, it would be passionate.
Welcome to Gym Shorts, a podcast from Ophea. We're a Canadian charity that prioritizes student health, well-being, and belonging in classrooms, schools, and communities. For over 100 years, we've been working to make gym class every student's favorite part of their day. Through this podcast, we explore the powerful and personal stories behind our earliest experiences with health and physical education. In each episode, we speak with guests about experiences from school that shape their future relationship with physical activity and well-being. These stories offer honest reflections on how our past informs the present and how we can all work together to create happier, healthier, and more inclusive futures for all students. Now, let's get into today's story. Hi, I'm Andrea Haefele, and I'm a health and physical education curriculum consultant at Ophea. Before we begin, a quick note. This episode may contain discussions about bullying or other negative school experiences that may be upsetting or triggering for some listeners. We encourage you to take care while listening and pause if you need to. With this in mind, let's begin today's conversation. Meet Niviesha. As a child, her social circle and sense of community was always closely connected to physical activity. For her, it was an opportunity to meet new people and form new friendships.
I was always super active, even as a toddler, and that continued when we moved cities. My parents enrolled me into house league soccer, and it was a great way for me to make friends, but also be active. So I think I really quickly paired physical activity with community and making friends and having fun.
These positive experiences continued through Niviesha's school years as she continued to thrive. But it wasn't until grade 12 that she met a teacher who showed her that health and physical education was so much more than simply gym class.
Going into my grade 12 year in physical education, I had a teacher, shout out Mr. Darmai. He was great. He really taught us to make our own goals. He did not mark us based on how fast we ran or how many sit-ups we could do, but just, hey, what's your starting point? What's your goal for the end of the semester? How do you want to get there? Let's learn more about physical education. This isn't just gym class. This is us talking about health and our physical education and how we can be better humans all around.
As Niviesha finished university, finding a job was heavily influenced by family pressure. It wasn't about finding a job she loved. It was about finding the right job to make her family proud.
As I finished university, the classic immigrant family saying, you need to do business or you need to do math, do something prestigious. And so I tried that and it really wasn't for me. I graduated and then I had a desk job and it was fine. I was making money, but I wasn't happy.
But even with the expectations of others sitting in the back of her mind, Niviesha recalls being pulled towards teaching in a variety of ways.
Growing up, I feel like a lot of my teachers told me to be a teacher, and my grandparents are teachers, my sister's a teacher, and I realized, why am I running away from something just because the other people in my family are doing it? I can still enjoy this thing that I enjoy, and if I get into teachers college, I get in.
But as her teaching journey began, Niviesha's life took an unexpected turn. Her acceptance into teachers college coincided with a global pandemic and the sudden loss of her father. Instead of teaching health and physical education to a gym filled with students, Niviesha was sitting in front of a screen, trying her best to manage through these challenging times.
And I applied and I was on the wait list. Actually, my dad passed away March 2020, right as COVID was starting. And then I got in May 2020. And then I started my teacher's college journey during COVID. So I did actually teach during the pandemic. When we were locked down, I did online teaching. So we had to do physical education through a screen, all those things.
Niviesha rose to this new challenge by helping her students find a community online. No matter what they were facing, Niviesha wanted her students to know they were all in this together.
So building community in those ways, trying to find ways to connect the kids when they're sitting at home in different places. And we did our physical education, and I propped my screen up too. And I was right in there with them, doing our jumping jacks, doing our burpees, trying our best to move our bodies in the most fun way. We did scavenger hunts. Hey, go get a toilet paper roll. And then everyone's running to their bathroom to get a toilet paper roll, because that's how we had to build community and move our bodies.
But Niviesha's commitment to building a community with her students came at the expense of maintaining her own. As pandemic restrictions were lifted, Niviesha found herself looking for a connection, and a social media message from an old friend meant the world to her.
I think coming out of it, I realized, I have to build this community again. I have to find these people that I'm going to play with, because I've now lost touch for 3 years. And then it was a simple Instagram post that truly, if I don't know if I can say that, but that's what it was. I was on Instagram and a friend from my high school posted, hey, I need a middle for my women's co-ed volleyball team. And I was like, me, like, let's do this. And so now I look back, and it was funny, yesterday I was playing and I was like, wow, I know so many people now that play volleyball. But it's been now like 4 years, I guess, where I'm now playing 3 times a week. I think for me, it's the big piece is like the community part and making friends and making connections with people where they're like, yeah, I want you on my team. And you don't have to be the best person, but like the most skilled, but you're fun and you are a good time and you're reliable. So you're on my team.
Having experienced a loss of community herself, Niviesha centers her teaching on creating spaces where students can connect with her and each other.
I think I try my best to be that building block or stepping stool that students might need to create that community on their own. So making sure my spaces are safe and brave, and spaces where students are getting along in the sense of respect and kindness to each other. That's my baseline.
As Niviesha thinks back to her grade 12 health and physical education experience, she reminds herself daily of the lessons she learned and the need for teachers to engage and play with their students.
So my advice for teachers would be to make sure that you are setting the example for your students. You are staying involved and showing them that you can build a community and a brave space for them to try new things. And I say that by saying my grade 12 teacher jumped in and played ultimate frisbee with us, or showed us how to do a plank, or did all of these things that helped us feel like, hey, I can do that. I can play with them or us. And I try to do that as an educator, even if I'm not in the gym. I'm not a physical education teacher. I'm running around at recess. Hey, yeah, I'll kick that soccer ball to you. Or do you want to try playing this new game with me? And giving them access and a community with their teacher, not just outside of their teacher.
Niviesha strives to create safe and brave spaces for students throughout her school. When it comes to play, this means that full participation for everyone is always the goal.
Looking back now as an educator, as a homeroom teacher, I can see where students might have been left out of spaces or not felt comfortable in spaces. And that's where I think my advice would be most beneficial. I think as a homeroom teacher, I do my best to build community within my classrooms and to make sure that there is a bottom line of respect and kindness, to make sure there is inclusion, to make sure that every kid in that classroom feels like they belong, whether they're in the classroom, in the hallway, in the gym, outside at the playground, at recess. They should have a brave space and a safe space within our classroom, and that should extend throughout the school. And working closely with Ophea and MLSC with the Change the Game and the learning lab that we did a couple of years ago at my school really helped me create games and play in such an accessible way for all students to be able to participate, to have fun with their friends, and to build that community together.
At the end of the day, Niviesha reminds us that physical activity should always be about fun. And that's not just for the students, but for everyone.
Having fun and playing is every kid's dream. And to be honest, for me, any adult's dream. I think having fun with your friends and moving your body is the best way to be physically active. And having these games for them to play at recess, at intramurals, having access to those things, regardless of if you made a team or not, was so important for those kids. And those smiles will never leave my memory. The way they had fun is exactly why I do what I do every day.
Every student deserves to feel seen, valued, and included in gym class. Ophea's culturally responsive and relevant pedagogy resource helps educators create inclusive environments where every student can thrive. This free resource offers practical strategies for understanding yourself and your students. Check the link in our show notes to explore the full resource and bring equity and belonging to your gym. We are back. I'm very excited, Niviesha, to have this conversation with you and to learn more about how you enter into this space in the teaching world. So Ophea was invited to work at your school on a few projects, specifically in the intramural program. When we approached her principal, he actually mentioned your name first. Can you share a little bit about this opportunity and what interested you in this?
Yeah, awesome. It's so nice to talk to you again as well. I'm so excited to be here. When my principal approached me during that time, I was actually a grade 6 homeroom teacher, and I was heavily involved in the extracurriculars at the school, so coaching many of the sports teams. And he approached me with this awesome opportunity, and I was super excited. I said yes right away because I feel like movement is such an important part of the classroom, and it's such an important part of building community, because I truly feel like when students have fun, they're ready to learn, they're excited about coming to school, they're building communities, they're being inclusive, and that's when I find the most success. So I knew I had to jump on this opportunity to see if I can get my students involved and get our junior classes up and moving as much as possible.
Okay, let's jump on that word inclusivity, those inclusive spaces. So we often talk about safe spaces and inclusive spaces, but we don't always get a clear picture of what that actually looks, sounds, and feels like. So through the work that we were doing together, and also your own experience through the intramural program and also teaching in your homeroom class, what do you look for to validate that you're building those spaces where students feel like they belong?
I think for me, the most important thing is students feel seen, heard, and understood. When I truly see a student show up authentically themselves in my classroom, that's when I know I have been successful. Because if your space is safe, that student is going to come in and feel any emotion they feel. They are going to be prepared for school, or maybe not prepared for school. They are showing up themselves and they feel brave enough and safe enough to do that in your classroom. That doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. It doesn't mean every day is going to be roses and sunshine, but that means that you are building those important relationships with your kids and your students, and that those students feel like they can talk to you about how hard math is, or that they're so tired from the night before because they stayed up playing video games, or whatever story they want to share with you, because they just want to feel seen. And I think everyone can attest to that. Any human wants to feel seen, heard, and understood. And that doesn't just go away when you're in a classroom. And I think that's my biggest takeaway, is treating my students with the respect and the kindness that any human deserves, because they are. Even though they're little humans, they're still humans that deserve all the right things. And I think showing up myself, making sure that I'm authentic to me, really helps them be like, okay, cool. She's telling us she's making mistakes, or sharing about the things that she likes to do on her off time and playing games with us. She's just being herself. And that gives them the confidence to be themselves too. And it's kind of like, we all know kids can see right through you. Yeah. They know when you're putting on an act. They know when you're trying to fool them or get them to do something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
And I think I just try to be as honest as I can with them and tell them, hey, yeah, this might not be the most fun math lesson, but we're going to get through this together, and I'm going to try to make it as fun as possible. And even if you think it's not fun after this, we're going to go play a quick game.
Yeah.
And that's going to get you going.
Yeah. So I want to jump on the term building relationships, because seeing you in action, seeing you walk down the hallways and the students greeting you, these are just some soft skills that I really think teachers want to learn more about. Can you talk a little bit more about how has the value you place on community and relationships changed over the past 5 years in your own life? And what has physical activity community mean to you and mean to the students that are in front of you at that moment in time?
Yeah, so I think for building relationships, it's as easy as a hi and a smile. I know that sounds so mundane and just so silly, but I remember during teachers college, I even remember in a PD that I did, community circles and restorative practices, they say a smile, a hello with the person's name. Hey Andrea, how's it going? How are you? Is so intentional, and it can make the world of a difference to a student because they're feeling seen. When you say, hey, I love that backpack, or what do you think about your art? Asking them to reflect themselves instead of putting that onus on anyone else. Like, hey, do you think that's cool? I think that's cool. That's awesome. You did that. And it could have been, I tied my shoelaces, or it could have been, I wrote my name on my piece of paper and I didn't forget. Like, yes, like you did that. And that's so important. It's those little moments that you make with students. It's the tiniest things that those students will remember and think, oh, wow, my teacher remembered that. I remember after a year of teaching, I only taught these students for 3 months. And then I moved to another class in the same school. And those students at the end of the year, one student said, hey, I don't know if you remember this, but you asked me about my music concert. And that really made me
Oh,
happy. That was
so
really nice
nice.
of you. And it was a small thing for us. And so I think that's what my advice is for teachers who are looking to build those relationships or don't know how to do that is it's just simple questions and conversations,
Yep.
those tiny moments between transitions at recess, at lunch, where those students feel like you want to connect with them, that you don't want to be separate from them, but you want to build that community.
Amazing. And I really like how you spotlight those little moments that happen across the school day. That's may not be during the actual quote unquote class time, but it's through passing. Let's take it into the gym. Do you think a smile and an invitation can be enough to get people into the gym who don't usually join in or feel, this is not my space, I don't want to go in, you know?
Yeah, I think those fears are totally valid. I didn't always love, let's say, science class when someone's like, hey, I want to do this. I didn't like that. No, I don't want to do that. And so I think a smile and a hi can help. Is it going to be everything? Maybe not. And that's okay. I think building those blocks and building that bridge for those students to feel stable enough to walk across is what's important. So it might not be overnight, it might not be every week, but those numbers are going to increase the more that you build that community with the students that do show up, with the way that you speak about what you're doing, with the way that you speak to your students about what you're doing, and being really intentional about what that goal or success might look like. So when we worked together with Ophea, it was a lot about moving any which way.
Love that.
And we made that very clear to
Clear.
all
Yep,
of our
yep, yep. I
students
remember that.
because that's what's important. It's not how well you did it, it's that you did it. You showed up for yourself and you had fun with your friends and you moved your body. And that's all we wanted. And I think that simple baseline was giving so many more students access and so many more students comfortable with being like, oh, that's all we're going to do. We're just going to play and have fun. Okay, cool. I'll show up. No problem.
Yeah. And that honestly takes that pressure off of performance. Who
Yes.
is the fastest? Who is the strongest? So I love how you segued into the concept of movement and physical activity. Did you have any aha moments during our work together when it came to engaging certain students in physical activity that aren't always the first to join in or try out or come into the gymnasium?
Yes, there was definitely moments where I looked around and these were my homeroom kids. I was at a French immersion school, so I taught two grade 6 homeroom classes, so that was about 52 students in total. And the students that showed up for those intramurals were students that didn't necessarily try out for sports teams, didn't necessarily even play at recess. They were the ones walking around with their friends just chatting. And to see them have fun and smile and be with their friends and move in a way that was so simple to them. They were like, yes, I'm having fun. I'm moving, I'm running, I'm laughing, I'm rolling around in the grass, like whatever it may be, they
Yeah.
were having fun. And I think that moment for me solidified everything that I want to be as a teacher, is making sure that all students have access to having fun, because we know that not all students have access after school. They don't have the time or the means or whatever it may be to get them moving after school. So it's so important as educators to make room and space for all students to play, regardless of if they are on a sports team or not.
Amazing. And as I'm listening to you, you always allude to the importance of building relationships, which in turn leads to building a community. And let's bring this home. How has the value you place on community and relationships changed over the past 5 years of your own life? And what has a physical activity community meant to you?
Community has been huge for me. I started playing volleyball when I was really young, played for a long time, started again in university, and then because of COVID, as you heard maybe before, it stopped. And then I started again, and I built that community again slowly but surely. And now I can really look back and see, wow, like I have connected with so many people that I maybe would have never talked to or never met before. And I'm able to chit chat, have a conversation, ask how they're doing, play volleyball, have fun, and get invited to do these fun things. Even this, like having an opportunity to learn more about education, about what I love to do through other people's stories, is such an impactful thing for me. And that all comes down to community, keeping connections, being kind, having a smile on your face, introducing yourself. And I think that kind of goes back to like, I try to be who I am as a teacher. That's not different than who I am as a person. Because I think that's so important. And so a lot of all of that kind of bleeds together. I think community is what this world thrives on. If I'm being honest, I think when we work together, we can accomplish anything. And I think that's such an important thing for us as adults to remember. It's not just in the classroom. It's not just when we were kids. I think when we get jobs and we have all these things to do and bills and all these responsibilities, we can sometimes forget how much talking to a friend, going on a walk, even window shopping at the mall, like doing whatever makes you happy with your community, moving your body, having fresh air, I think is so important. And I've really realized how much that makes me a happier person.
Amazing.
Now.
No, you've hit many different points as you were speaking. I wanted to thank you for showing up authentically. I think your concept of community and being that positive role model in the classroom speaks to what Ophea thrives on and what we're trying to do in different school communities across Ontario and beyond. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
This episode was hosted by me, Andrea Haefele, and was produced by Mike Meehan. Our music was written and performed by Ron Kelly. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. Your support helps us grow and reach more educators, students, and change makers. Until next time, let's keep moving, questioning, and creating space for every student to thrive.